Okay,
6:30, exactly.
call meeting to order. Citizen petition with the maintenance of Darrington Road legal advice. Well, we really haven't heard back from them, have we?
Well, I think it's pretty clear what they sent us. They asked.
Yeah, he did say it would probably
So-
be helpful to see a copy of the petition.
Which I did, I sent them everything, they just wanted to make sure we closed the
You
road
know,
about
on a
everything.
given day, they're slammed there, so, you know, sometimes it takes a while. Do you want this read out loud so folks can hear it? I'll read it for you.
Go ahead,
You want me to read it for you?
go ahead.
Good morning, Leanne. The statute I referenced in my Friday email is indeed generally interpreted by municipal attorneys to preclude for 1 year the reconsideration of orders to close roads to winter maintenance. It seems budget considerations are part of the underlying policy. A town meeting will likely base its road budget on the roads that will require winter maintenance, so reconsidering the order to add more roads could necessitate reconsidering the budget after taxes have been committed nonetheless. Therefore, if the statutory process for closing the road was followed, the order cannot be amended until June 18, 2023. The select board could reject the petition as ultra vires for proposing an action that is not within the lawful jurisdiction of the town meeting on this basis. That said, the statute requires several steps and only applies to public town ways, not public easements that exist over private roads. If you're able to share a copy of the warrant article that was approved in June, as well as confirmation that the road is a town way and that the board followed the steps outlined in Title 23, Section 2953, I would be happy to confirm for the board whether or not a petition is, in fact, ultra vires. It will probably also be helpful to see a copy of the petition. I don't think we can call a town meeting on that petition based on our legal
Seeing.
advice. You know, regardless of what we wish to do.
We might be better off to wait another year.
Well, and
June.
on top of that, having received a petition and knowing how much he would like to see the road plowed and knowing, as we do, that the folks that actually own the Darrington place up to the end are planning to move there year round at some point. It's something that is coming anyway. It's not like the
Right.
petition would have to be resubmitted because this basically puts us on notice that in fact, we need to include this project in our budget
Right,
process
well,
for the upcoming
Tim had talked
year.
to the folks up at the end this last weekend.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, and asked them
Rileys.
about us getting an easement for a turnaround
Yes.
later on. And they said, yes, they'd be happy to.
That was a good move on their part.
So it'd probably be, if we could do that right off. Have
You know,
them,
we could start with, because that's not something that's gonna be a budget issue, so it seems
right,
like
so if we could get that
take
going,
care of some of the, some things like that in
right,
advance.
right,
Also, he said something about already having a culvert in mind
Yep.
for further up
Yes.
the road, so there may be some things that he can proceed with anyway,
right.
assuming it's within his
So it'd be good probably to get that
summer road
out of the
budget that
way
he's still
before.
got, whether this fall
Next-
or
right, next
in the
summer.
spring,
Mm-hmm.
seems to me. Just maybe baby steps, but at least steps in the right direction.
Right. So in your response to the summer maintenance, you said perhaps a small amount of gravel could be.
I don't see why not.
Right,
I mean, it's a town
So
way,
that
and-
would also help the road coming into the winter season.
Right.
be
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
easier,
Well,
right.
you know, we really have to consult with the road commissioner on that because he's the one who's in charge of that part, but I don't see why not. And he seemed to be speaking the other night, he was sitting over here, and he seemed to be saying that, well, at least we could get a little bit done.
Right.
And so like I say,
Work with-
I have to ask him, you know, if he has it in his, you know, if he can, because he's done an awful lot of summer roads work.
Yeah, he must, because
So-
he mentioned about doing that culvert
There you go.
right off.
And
so-
the culvert doesn't necessarily have to be done immediately.
No,
Maybe the most immediate thing is to make it a little bit more fit for plowing.
But you can
Because-
set the culvert aside, not use it for another project, knowing that we're gonna
Mhm.
replace one on Darrington.
Yeah, and we'll just make sure that this is part of our budget process.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, you know, there's still the consideration of having a town meeting because there were other subjects involved.
So do you want to make a motion to accept or reject the petition?
I accept the petition, but we can't act on it. You know, but if we have to say,
can he use the same names next?
he doesn't need to use them.
Oh,
You know,
right.
he's turned in a petition and
Right.
we, the select board, are basically on us. We know
Okay.
that that's what
So you're gonna have an article on the next annual town meeting?
I would
warrant
I should
to
imagine.
open the road?
But we also need to, you know, plan for it in the budget. We need to have an article, you know, yes, an article to reopen it to winter maintenance, assuming that it's past the date of June 18th, 2023. But the other thing is that we will consider it in the budget process and make sure that when we're making up a road budget for next year, that we have
Include
that
that.
consideration. BIM had said $75,000, but you know, it may or may not be that much, or maybe a little more, depending. He'll have plenty of time to
Right.
do his pencil work in the meantime, to figure it out down to the
Grain of sand.
down to the penny.
Go ahead,
Ramsey.
Is there anywhere where there's a map that shows the roads and delineates whether they're town roads, discontinued roads, or whether they're public or town? It identifies their legal status.
Well, no, not exactly. I don't believe.
I'm sure Jill makes.
So,
No,
so
doesn't show
does,
that.
does anyone in the town know what roads are legally
Yes,
required
No,
to be
but-
plowed and required to be
Well,
carried?
yeah,
Okay, so there's a listing of those.
yeah, that's what we base our,
I mean,
that way,
say
that's
it's-
what we base our,
But there's no like.
That's
map
what we
that has
base our
green
winter-
Roads that are open and orange roads that are closed, or,
Say what?
he said there's no like map that says all these.
like
green
color
roads-
keyed for
Some
private.
sort
and-
of a list that identifies
Yes, of course.
the legal
Sure enough.
status of the roads.
Sure enough, and,
Oh, sorry.
sure enough, and,
Okay.
that's what we base our winter roads budget on, is how many miles of road are required to be plowed.
Okay, and
And they are listed.
how is that viewable by anybody who wants to see it?
Ask at the town office.
Go ahead, Leanne.
Okay,
years ago, I actually went through every town meeting warrant from 1890, whatever I had up front, and I made a Excel worksheet.
yeah, right.
And I have every road that was voted on, what the outcome was, the date, the article number, and plus other things. town officials
Right,
sort
and,
through that,
and,
I
and,
think.
and it's kind of a hoot, because, you know, it's, a lot of times it says the road from the such and such corner to the so-and-so place. So, you know, Old Man Winter's place, or Old Man, or the Joneses place, or the Smith's place, or something like that, which may very well not exist any longer.
Leanne,
Also, David Crosby worked very hard. He has a condensed list of every road, what the status is.
And is there a list of the officially discontinued roads?
They're on the list, yeah.
We may be the only town in Maine that has that then.
You know, it can be hard to tell. I'll tell you what.
It is, that's that's. a-
I have spent a great deal of time driving around in the town of Fayette recently, and I can tell you, they have so many roads that are now dead-ended. I mean, roads that used to go through. Just, it's unreal.
Ken,
So if you have that list of roads, would you know how far Darrington Road actually goes? Does it go beyond the Darrington homestead that we went up? Because
It may have been
that petition,
discontinued beyond there.
Whenever you have an article, whether it be Darrington Road or any other road, and you say you're gonna fix Darrington Road.
It's to the Gracie Darrington homestead. That's where.
to the end.
Bopen Gracie.
The rest of it's all logging roads out in the back of there.
Well,
I think.
apparently at one point it wasn't a log.
Yeah, but they
Oh, no.
discontinued it until the Darrington homestead.
Yeah, I think that would be an example of a road that was discontinued, and what they would have said was to the Darrington place. Now, we just happen to know what the Darrington place was. Of course, it's when they move up there full time, I guess it's officially the Riley place, but for a lot of us, it'll still be the Darrington place.
Beyond the Darrington place.
Hmm.
You take a right, go down. to the
Right,
board.
sure. I
Then
don't,
you take the
That had to be a
next.
road at one point.
it may have been a road at one point. I don't,
Is it public? Is it,
why don't you check with Leanne in her spreadsheet?
so we could have a copy on the spreadsheet?
Sure.
Of course.
And
Ramsey,
so if
I'm
somebody,
just curious, 'cause
Yeah.
how far they go.
if somebody wanted to build a house on a section of road that had never had a house on it, or did back in the 1700s, but hasn't had any house recently, and so that section of the road hasn't been used, is that section of that road still on the map somewhere?
Most of them are, yeah.
And we'll say whether it's.
I've got a copy,
waiting to be
I've got a
discontinued.
copy of a map of Hartford from the 1800s, and you can't imagine the roads that went all over the place. All over the place, there were roads. Now, these roads may have been little more than cow paths, in fact, or, dirt tracks for a wagon, because they didn't even have.
That
cars.
was the
They didn't
road.
have cars at that point, but, oh my God, and the blacksmith shops and the.
well, one
mercantiles
example,
and-
is it
oh,
one
everything.
example going across from Church Street, going up through to your neck of the woods? Isn't one example of an old road was the one that crosses Church Street and goes up to your neck of the woods?
That old stage road,
It was,
Yeah.
it was Church Street.
that was a big deal road.
That was. No, there's a lot of them, and you can still drive up that way if you go up Cowett Road. You'd have to go through their gate, because of course it's gated off, because it stops at what we know is the Cowett place.
And
But you can keep right on going.
Yeah, and so this is obviously going to keep happening again and again, there's more and more. Move in and stuff, that was backwoods that
Yep,
used to have a road.
Depending, of course, on whether it is still a town road or whether it has been abandoned or discontinued. There's a big difference in the status of a road. All of these roads that we're discussing, like go past Cowett's place or go down to Swan Pond from your place. You
Right.
can't, or at least you could do it. I've driven down there. But
I missed that.
I have driven down from going past your place and up and down to Marble Road and towards the dump, down to Swan Pond, some while ago, and it's probably still passable if you have the right vehicle. But the point I guess I'm making is if anybody decided to move in there, they're gonna have to deal with the fact that the landowners own an easement. After, was it 1967? Anything before that, there's a couple of dates. There's 48 and then 67, I think it is, but any dates before 67, if a road was discontinued, the property goes back, there's no road there technically. The property goes back to a butter on either side, or to that landowner if they own on both sides. Camp Road's an excellent example of that. The fellow that owns a house down at what is now the end of Camp Road, which did used to go up to Church Street, he built a garage right in the center of the road.
And so what would happen, Joe Smith buys land on something that had, was a road, and there was a lot of road, and now it's woods road.
If he wants
Not
to,
a town.
he'll have to build it up and if he's building a single family house, he can build it up to driveway standards. But if he is planning to build his house and then a few more and make it into a actual road for a bunch of people or subdivision or whatever you want to call it, he's going to have to bring it up to the road standards that are in the subdivision ordinance, and they are no joke.
Right, and that's easy, but I'm thinking, like where Louis built his house up there. So if you get a permit to build a house, somebody in the town is going to tell them in writing, here's your permit to build your house. You need to understand that the town is not responsible for the road.
Well, okay, so Louis didn't build the house. It was
Right,
Sarah and
Sarah.
Mr. Lalamand. I don't remember. Zeb's, in any case, they built the house. And when Sarah first came to us, she had a sheaf of paper about that thick, and she had done her research. She knew perfectly well that in fact, because of the cemetery up there, that road had never been discontinued. And she knew that she could get to town over a barrel to bring it up to standards, and just to plow it that first winter cost us $40,000 right out the, at that moment.
But just in general, I'm saying, if you're going to give a building permit to somebody, it's going to be made clear to them whether that, here, you can build your house, but the town is not responsible.
Hope
for the
so.
road.
Well, we should be more than hoping so. I mean,
Maybe
I
that
don't
should be on
recall-
the planning board checklist for when people get.
I believe it is. I believe it is. But you know what? People who build in the middle of nowhere don't need to go before the planning board. Only people who are building in the shoreline need to go before the planning
But
board,
they don't have.
or people who are creating a subdivision.
Leanne had her hand up a little while back.
I was just gonna say the discontinued roads on the map are usually in dotted lines. Dotted lines.
Even on your gazetteer,
I
No,
just.
on our
am
tax map.
envisioning
but even
some
on
kind
gazetteer, there's dotted
of-
lines.
Oh, that somewhere it has to be made 100% clear.
No, I
What the
couldn't,
town's
I couldn't
version of
agree
the
more.
road
And
is.
we did discuss at one point having a sheet that went with building permits that said basically that, if you choose to build someplace that
It
is,
does say it right on the
and
application.
it says, there you go, it says it right on the application. I knew we were talking about doing that, and it seems to me that that's the better part of common sense.
It
Okay.
seems that roads and trash are the two
Yep,
big money things. So-
schools.
Well, schools, there's always schools, but you can talk about schools all day and you still won't get anywhere.
Okay,
Does
so
someone want to make them?
how do we want to word this?
We either have to accept or reject.
Reject.
So you say
I make a motion. We reject
the current petition.
current petition as is. Mm, until what?
Would you like to add that and say, and consider reopening the road to winter maintenance after the statutory time has passed?
After the, yeah.
June 18th.
What she said.
2023.
What's that?
June 18th, 2023.
Yeah. Okay, I make a move that we reject this petition until the following year, June 18th, 2023. Have a second? All in favor?
Who seconded it?
I believe I did.
Okay.
Would you like to take it up with Bim to let
Yeah.
him know what the decision
Yeah,
was?
yeah.
And talk to
We'll
him
go from
about findings from gravel to make it
Yep.
at least a little more plowable?
Yep.
Do you have a copy of the warrant? I can change anything. I left the computers on. Did I pick a date? If you still want to hold one.
Yeah, we do. for Bear Pond and Green Acres. Right.
So now it's actually
Any
kind
date is
of pick a date.
all right for me.
I put the 22nd Saturday, but just to put something in there.
Something on the 22nd. Hang on, let me, yeah, I see that. I see you had, I know you had to put something in there, but I'm thinking that, didn't you say that you have, your weekends are
Yeah.
not available?
How early on a Saturday morning will we do it?
9. The only other night for you is Friday, the 21st.
Well, I'm not crazy about doing it on a Friday night if we could help it.
Unless you want it earlier in the night before the selectmen's meeting, like 5 or 5:30 or something.
That would be on the 20th.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I feel, you know, it's hard. I don't want to, I would want rather have it be sometime when more people are free to show up. And having it at 5:30, I mean, I'm hard pressed.
I can probably stay from 9 to 10, but if it gets a lot longer than that, I can't stay.
That's all I'm staying for. 'cause I'm gonna be over there.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, this
On the
is,
26th.
this should be short and sweet, cut and dry. You know, this is not an occasion for lots of debate. You know, it may be, you know, we may be back in the search for a moderator game, but, you know, I will reach out on that.
Okay. So you want to do the 22nd at 9?
Sounds good to me.
Wants too
No,
strong a
nobody
word.
wants. to.
Yeah, wants too strong a word, but I'm willing to do it. I mean, you know.
Okay. October 22nd. I meant, yeah, 22nd.
Okay, 9
Have one
a.m.
scheduled for the 17th, but it's no longer.
Oh, no,
Right.
no, because,
We had to move this meeting.
right, we had to move this meeting. We have to have, for a town meeting, we have to have at least a week of public notice. So, yeah.
So read through the articles. And like in the Bear Pond one, I didn't mention the dam, but I put an explanation below. I can
Yep.
change that if you want.
Hang on, let me just make sure I've got this in my calendar now, because it just won't do to. It just won't do to leave this to chance of remembering it. I mean, not that you won't remind us, but I need all the reminders I can get.
I didn't change the date at the top. I just saw that.
Yeah, but, you know, that will be easy to change. Well, it
Looks
occurs
good
to
to
me,
me.
well, it looks good to me. It does, but you do say the explanation is to damn. Right, and we can have this letter from the Bear Pond Improvement Association available for people to read.
Mhm.
I'm sure many members of BPIA will be here.
You would think.
I would hope so.
Well, you know, could let the word get out. And you know that everybody who uses Bear Pond would love to see it happen this fall, instead of wait until the spring.
They closed it
big-
last year for diagnosis and we
I
had to get our
remember.
boats out at the beginning of September. It was awful.
Yeah, well, I remember.
Concerned we just bought one. I mean, an
Well, you
old
know,
one, but
that's rough life. But, it happened,
Yep.
the water went down for everybody.
Yep.
And, I have,
Oh, yeah, I supported it. It just was sad.
yeah. Anyway, so,
It's good for you guys.
yeah, I'm not seeing,
That's me.
nothing's screaming out at me for, it's okay. So do you want to change this date before we sign it?
It's up to you, I can run over.
Um,
The signatures
well, it's
on-
not gonna be on the 17th in any case.
Right.
And
If
She
you
said
want.
she had it on the system over there still up, so
Yeah,
she can
I
just
can run over.
reprint it.
All right.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So you're gonna have 2 articles?
2 articles, yes.
3.
3?
Well, 3, because the first article is always to elect a moderator to preside at said meeting.
That's one.
Yes, this
The other
article,
one is-
article number 2 is to see if the town will vote to appropriate up to 55,000, I thought it was 50.
55.
From fund balance for the paving of Green Acres Road. You were here the other night.
Yeah. I know
From the
about
intersection of Main Street to the intersection of Gauding Road.
that.
The explanation is to take advantage of the lower contract price of paving and to save the town money in the future. It would be feasible. Oh, geez, here's another. In the future, it would be feasible to pave a portion of the road described above at lower cost. Save the town money
So the
in
next
the
one is
future.
about the dam.
Yes.
Bear Pond,
On their font, yeah.
working with Bear Pond Association.
Their font crucial system. Yes,
So you can get
yeah.
road access.
She
We've
should have
done-
put,
done
she should
several
have broken
fundraisers
this into 2
over
sentences.
the,
Should have a period here.
I
and
don't know, the
capital
last
I.
50
Maybe I
years
should go
too,
over
because
and
they've
tell
done
her that.
some pretty big, major dam projects. And repaired some, including upgrading the gates just in the beginning of the
Save
2000s.
the town money in the future. It would be feasible to pay.
So, but last year, water was
Because it kind of
leaking,
doesn't make
leaking,
sense,
leaking. We
but
couldn't hold
whatever.
water, and the whole concrete basin underneath the gates was deteriorating. That was originally placed there in the early 1900s.
So it's appropriating money to repair it.
No, well, it is. It's taking money from fund balance. It's not the same as appropriating taxes, because one of the many rules we get to live with is you can raise money through taxation, but you can only do it at the annual town meeting. Any other town meeting has to take money out of our fund balance, assuming we have deep enough pockets to dig in.
And
Like when we bought the railroad bed, that was $30,000, and we had a special town meeting, and that had to be taken out of the fund balance, which is contrary to some people's belief, is not a slush fund. It's actually, this is our working money, and that's what she was concerned that if we had all 3 articles on there, taxes don't start coming in until the tax bills are due in December. We might have been cutting it mighty close, because we still need to make our school budget payments. I mean, school takes almost $200,000 out monthly. And of course, October's when we have to start paying, for the snow plowing. I mean, we got bills, not just
So
maybe.
Why I'm asking is because I'm still wondering what the answer is to my question about alternates on committees. Last time, at the last meeting,
Right.
Leanne was gonna check with the state on the statute. But
Yeah, and
if it's
my sense is that she probably hasn't had a chance.
Okay.
One of the things to consider is that the town office isn't open on Friday, although we did have an emergency meeting to discuss this topic and send her back to do some research. And of course, she's usually open on Monday, but Monday this week was a holiday, right? So today, she's usually closed on a Monday, but she was there all day working with the assessor's
Auditors.
agent.
Yeah.
Assessors,
yes.
working with the assessors and put this stuff together. So I would have to say that, in all fairness, she hasn't had a chance to look into it.
I'm wondering if it is decided that you need to bring it up at a town meeting,
oh,
this would be the town meeting that you could bring it up and vote.
That's probably true. Now, I personally, my interpretation of the ordinance,
updated ordinance.
the updated ordinance on the administration ordinance on the subject of committees is that it's ultimately up to the select board anyway.
That's right.
And so I personally think that if we want to appoint alternates, we ought to get to just appoint the alternates.
More the merrier.
And I frankly cannot imagine why the state would weigh in on that.
Mm.
But, but let her check it.
Let's make it-
That's how I feel about it.
get it done.
We'll see. I like the way you think. Meanwhile, I kind of hate to report it, but we had our solid waste committee meeting the other night, and we were short one. Raymond Hunter didn't show up, and I tried messaging him. He didn't get back to me. He did get back to me, and his life has gone from busy to boiling, and he is not going to be able to serve on the cemetery committee, which is near to his heart, but he just can't. Raymond Hunter.
Oh, so
He-
he's resigning.
He
He's
is,
okay.
he is, I'm afraid so.
Okay.
He is gonna, I asked him to please send an email because, while I don't know that he was actually sworn in anywhere, or at least not for solid waste, but we still will
That's
do,
cool.
we still need to have
Even more
A resignation
people
letter.
on the
Right.
all the
Mhm.
movies.
So when can we put that on a vote to select board?
Well, I don't know that we ever need to vote on it, to be honest with you. We voted on the ordinance itself. And as long as the ordinance is interpreted to mean that, it's up to the select board to provide, to appoint alternates, then
Yeah, here's
it's not an issue. And look, here's Lenny. She sure did. We're talking about alternates on committees.
Oh, yeah.
So do they need to vote on it?
Yes. It's a select board.
But do we need to, he's suggesting that we're working up a warrant for a special town meeting here. He's suggesting that ought to be on a special town meeting. And I say, not really, because it's,
Well, if it doesn't
No, if it
need to be,
needed,
then I'm
I don't think, I
saying
really don't think it
vote.
needs to be.
No, you guys just need to vote. This is that one.
I'm not saying you have to do
Alternates.
one, do one or the other.
Anything that's not in the ordinance is your discretion. Any motion? Did you make a motion?
Not yet, no, I move that we post this warrant for a special town meeting to be held on October 20th, 2022, at 9 AM in the town hall.
That's wrong. It's still October 22nd. Isn't it the 22nd, Saturday, the 22nd?
For God's sake. Long day?
Yeah.
Yeah. how about-
Oh, no. I'm so glad you looked at that.
Can't she just adapt the first page and have us sign the second page?
Well, that's,
Good eye.
yeah, no shit. I just looked at it and I didn't
Who
see it at all.
seconded that?
I did.
No, oh, yeah, you did. Did you vote?
All in favor?
I'll go over here.
Okay,
Did you find another one?
yes. It's a little, it's,
Get your extra.
Leanne.
She found a typo. She had to one up me.
No, actually yours was much more critical. I'm going to suggest.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Ah,
Are we having fun yet?
Yeah.
How old were you when you moved away? How old were you when you moved away? Oh my gosh, so really, this is like your childhood home. Oh my God, well, I say, we've done our best not to really change it too much. When I moved here, the walls were absolutely hideous, bright green. Fortunately, nobody ever painted the wood. And the kitchen was like the brightest yellow you could even imagine. If you go into the bathroom
I'll see
and
Jeff.
turn on the
I'll
light,
see
you can
Ben
see a little
tomorrow,
bit of the
Jeff.
green
Yeah.
in there. It's just
I'll see Jeff. I'll see
absolutely
Ben
just
tomorrow.
enough to make your eyes like,
Bring up some gravel and
I think
shit.
late
Twitch.
60s, early 70s.
yeah, it was enough to make your
Usually
eyes
it's a
Danger
twitch.
in orange, I was waiting for you to tell me that the appliances
I'll
were
probably
the
see
old,
you.
you
I really
know,
think you're better.
No,
off.
avocado or
No,
orange.
well, you
or-
know something, it was
can't
so
get
bright
anywhere
yellow that I
anyway.
don't think they could have
Bring it
done
up
away with
next
it.
year.
Although an awful lot of what was
Maybe you
in
get some
here,
people-
kitchen
You get some
equipment wise,
people,
Yeah.
was
you know,
secondhand
had to
stuff that people
come.
were shucked
Oh,
off
I
from their
already
homes.
have
Sure, well,
contingent.
Because
Good,
why not?
good.
Although I have to say that
Um,
this
maybe-
stove here, this
I had
range
talked to
here
them about
was
going
bought
past
brand new
Jasper,
from, I believe it was Advent
Mhm.
turning
Appliance.
Right.
around.
Because I
Maybe
went
if we could do
shopping
that,
with
then
Leslie Vaness and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
shopped,
all
you
the
know,
different
we
stuff.
use that for
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
and he
every
mentioned
year.
it to me
Uh,
too.
well,
about
that's
doing
the
that,
newer
so
one
he-
because the other one is
he probably will.
fit for warming things up, but it's not,
That
it
makes
doesn't
a
amount.
difference.
It's a
Yeah.
kind of apartment size anyway, and it doesn't
They can
amount to
get it
much.
done.
Yeah, I know. That's what we just said, you know, we get the ball going anyways.
So I grew
Yeah,
up,
if I waited
my
another
family's
year,
owned a
then-
cottage on Bear Pond, so I've
Right.
been here every summer, and then
Right,
in
so that's
2000,
good.
since
Yeah.
Get the ball going.
1963. And then
But that culvert out there does need to be
I
changed, whether,
didn't, no, I'm
whether
from-
it's
originally from
plowed or
Southern Maine,
not.
but we-
It does.
we're
I
here
mean,
all
That
there's
thing
summer
is
long.
scary
And
going
then
across.
I
I drove
moved,
over it
we
the other
bought
day, and
property
that
in the year 2000.
Well, you can
bought my
see it,
grandparents' cottage, and
places
then,
on the right where
I
Are you
rebought
taking
it
off,
from my
Ramsey?
where it's
ex-husband
starting to wash.
on,
Yeah.
in 2012, so
side.
we've been here a while.
Yeah.
My son and I.
Bye.
Are yours a Washington plate out
Hey,
there?
Bob.
Yes, but I'm from here originally.
Yeah, are you moving back?
I'm moving down to Cody, so probably not.
Oh, cool, yeah, I'm originally from Wells, which is coastal, Wells, Connecticut, yeah.
I'll make it school here, but then high
That
school.
actually looks a lot better.
Yeah.
So I already did, so. Yeah.
Okay, looks good to me.
Our farm is up on Dodger Road.
Okay, yeah.
And we've already
Still there, it's just there.
just
Isn't it
passed
funny
that to
how,
Leanne.
I mean, I've been relearning roads I used to know as a kid, but I'm like trying to learn where everything, I just became a select board person in June and, but I'm like,
Select board
I
member?
don't, select board member, and I just, I'm like, half these roads, I didn't know what their names were.
Yeah.
You know, it was more like, you know, by the old red barn, take that turn.
What about a cow?
Well, and which is how, I guess he was just looking at the list of roads, you know, that's how a lot of the roads were, you know, turned by the old oak tree and go up to the so-and-so place.
I literally remember. People love for that steer up there that's always there.
So tell me, which place was yours? Was it kind of on the crest? I
Thanks for
do.
coming,
I do.
Thank you.
thanks for coming.
61 Dodger Road.
So it's the same place that I know of as Auntie and Marguerite's place? Oh, no kidding. So they moved there in 72? Oh, no kidding. I guess I figured that they'd been there since,
Margaret, she's married to Marshall Brown.
yes, Marsh Brown.
Marsh Brown, right, he was our beekeeper, and anyway, he was a friend of our family.
Have I get a story about that guy?
No, but we will.
Oh, my
Are
God.
we all done?
He was so, I believe so. Are you adjourned? Are we adjourned?
We're
Great.
adjourned.
Thanks for coming, folks. How many people were
what's
here
your
on
first
Zoom, Leanne?
Hi, Julia, I'm Sue. Anyway, nice to meet you.
And they
I'm
are-
Russell. I made him as Russell. Yeah,
Chad and Rich.
yeah.
Okay.
9 o'clock.